Welcome to Unit 4.2, being Case Studies of Business Models Applied to Water Reuse. By the end of this module, learners will understand the importance of water reuse in addressing global water security and scarcity challenges. They'll be able to explain different kinds of business models for water reuse and deliver examples of key case studies linking the concepts of business models to the water sector and water reuse more specifically. So we'll be talking about three business models today. The first one being technology and service-driven solutions, the second business model being public-private partnerships, and the third one being building trust. In the following slides, I'm going to go a bit more into depth on what each of these ones are. So here is a business model canvas filled out for technology and service-driven solutions. This is the encapsulating business model for this type of technology or service system. An example of this in action could be membrane filtration for water reuse purposes. This ultimately, as a business model, represents private companies that sell their technology or service directly to end users seeking to improve water reuse capabilities. Of course, each of these business models is going to vary relatively significantly between the various cells of the business model canvas, but today we're going to only be focusing on channels and revenue streams. So this type of business models has channels that include direct sales teams, industry trade shows or digital platforms, and revenue streams that could be one-time sales, subscription services, or leasing models. Now we move on to the second business models, private-public partnerships. So this is ultimately long-term contracts held between private companies and public municipalities that drive co-development of decentralized infrastructure, an example of which being constructed wetlands. Again, looking into the channels, here we have public outreach campaigns and direct engagement with communities and municipalities. In terms of revenue streams, these may be long-term contracts with municipalities, grants and subsidies, or infrastructure financing. Now moving on to building trust as a business model. This is building transparency between the general public and institutions to build trust, uphold regulatory requirements for water reuse standards, and maintain quality of service to the public. So an example of this could be water quality certification schemes. In terms of the channels for this business model, we have compliance monitoring, educational resources, and advisory services. And in terms of revenue streams, we see certification fees, membership or subscription models, and grants and funding. So ultimately, these business models are quite different from one another. Here we're going to highlight some of the main differences between them. So as for the first business model, technology and service-driven solutions, these focus on tangible solutions that can be purchased and deployed without requiring long-term governance and deep stakeholder trust. Business model 2, being public-private partnerships, serve to center on shared risk, financing, and governance arrangements between sectors rather than on sales or social acceptance. And business model 3, building trust, these emphasize social legitimacy and stakeholder confidence as primary enablers, rather than physical technologies or institutional agreements. Thank you for your attention.